like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. He made it. Give me a second. I've been in that position already.
Usually you get 2 minutes.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have personal appeals part 1. If you have a personal appeal, please approach the podium, sign in, and state your name and where you're from.
Already did sign in. Good evening. I am Don Carl, 642 Chestnut Street in Emmaus. I'm here to address a problem with the borough property that has damaged my property at 642 Chestnut. Years ago, the borough planted trees in front of our house and along up and down Chestnut Street. We were on the south side, and we are 642 Chestnut, and we have the only tree on the south side of Chestnut Street. Excuse me. We're actually the only single house. We petitioned at that time, and I don't remember what year it was, and the whole block for not having the trees planted, but I think there was a grant, so they planted them anyway. Sorry, I'm not used to talking in front of people. We ended up having the tree on our side, on the south side. It has damaged our sidewalk so much that we were unable to get an updated house insurance policy unless we did some minor repairs, temporary. We would like the borough to remove the tree, replace the sidewalk back to its original state before the tree was planted. The borough property damaged our property, so therefore the borough is liable for the repairs. And I have pictures here, if I may hand them to someone that they can, if I may bring them over.
Sure.
That you may look at them, please.
Refer to the committee, we're not.
And as you are passing, it's a set of, I think there's a set of 8 of them. As you can see on on the first page, on the first picture, the patchwork, I had to do temporary patchwork. So the insurance company would, at this point, give us insurance, house insurance. On number 2, the pavement is uplifted above the curbing. So the roots are they're continuing to grow. The number 5 picture, the curb's being pushed out of alignment with the rest of the curbing on the street where it's actually going out towards the street. On the 8th one, you can see we have a retaining wall on our property, which we have a yard that is raised, and there's a retaining wall for that. That is cracked, and it's getting worse because of the tree. And as you can feel free, after you look at the pictures, you can feel free if you'd like to go to the property and check it out. But I know if when it happened, when they planted the tree, I think it was said that it's the borough's tree, but you maintain the sidewalk, which is okay. They trimmed the tree, we clean up the leaves and everything else. But it's to the point where it's damaging my property. And I feel that the borough should take the tree out because there's nothing else you can do and fix the concrete.
Mr. Carl, oh, go ahead.
Do you wish me to address it?
Well, I was going to address it in committee.
One of the committees.
Well, just make sure that the Shade Tree Commission is involved. This is really a Shade Tree Commission issue. The ownership of the tree is not ours. It is, we do take care of it, but, I mean, you can't do anything with the roots, and that's what's going on there. I think it's a Shade Tree Commission issue, and it should also be turned over to our insurance company.
Okay, I see which one.
With that being said, it will be addressed at our GA, our General Administration Committee.
Okay.
And that will be, our next meeting is, I believe, September 12th
September 12th?
at 9 a.m. right here at this table.
Okay.
But we have your information, your
Yeah, if
pictures.
you'd like to keep them pictures, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's
We
just
know the
that-
issue. You're not the first person. We've maybe you might be the third this year that actually came to a meeting,
Yeah.
whether here or a committee meeting. So it is on our agenda that we are addressing, so
Yeah.
it's not just you, it's
Because
it's
really,
others.
So like I say, it is pushing the curbing out towards the street. It's
Right.
just bad. Really
So-
bad.
We'll have
So-
to, we're gonna address it there, because we're not gonna, you
And the
know,
date again, I'm sorry, sir, for the
September 12th,
12th at 9?
9 a.m.
Okay. I guess I will be at that one. I thank you very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else with the public appeal? Hearing none, anybody have a community minute to bring forward?
Just a reminder that we have a ribbon cutting this week for a new business in town, Cap of PA, which is College Aid. So we're very excited to have
great. Thank
another
you.
business coming in town. It's where 187 Rue was.
Great. Roy?
I know several of my fellow council was at AI, AI Orthodontics. They had their open house. It was a really nice event. The place is very, very well done. They enlarged their building and just updated it. It's a beautiful place, and congratulations to them on their updated business.
Can everyone hear all right out there when he speaks? Some are shaking yes, some are shaking no.
I don't know if it's a microphone or not. You gotta
Yeah,
get
you
closer.
need to
Okay.
just,
Some of them you can be farther away, but yours I think you need to get closer.
Okay.
I'd like to also say,
You can-
yeah, I was also there, and Madam Mayor was there, and some of our other fellow council members. Dr. Issa was expecting, he said if he had 100 or 150 people, he would have been happy. And he had a taco truck there, and they had to have a ticket to get tacos. And they had over 200 tickets handed out. So I think there was 300 to 350 people there. So AI is one of the most generous businesses in this town. And anyhow, that turnout kind of shows how well liked he is as a business. And I just think the place is phenomenal if you ever get a chance to look at it. So,
Was that Saturday morning?
yes.
Yes.
My brother was there, that's what I thought.
I would like to comment on the Recreation and Entertainment Commission's event celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Summer Concert Series. For those of you that were able to make it out and help, thank you. It was a phenomenal event. The group did a great job, very successful, highly attended, well organized. I think those that attended were very happy, and I'd just like to congratulate them. 40 years of a summer concert series continuously going is something to be proud of, and I just want to commend those individuals on that group to continue making it successful.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, at this time, we have a special presentation. I'd like to call Mike Gibson forward to update the borough on the visioning committee.
Good evening, Mayor Gilbert, Council, Mr. Pepe. Mike Gibson, 230 Ridge Street. Those that know me know that's a joke. I'm here tonight to provide you with an update on the Planning Commission's Visioning Committee plan, 10-year plan for the future of Emmaus. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Pepe. He created a Dropbox for the general repository for all of our documents and was kind enough to put probably all total about 100,000 pages worth of studies and documents there. So thank you very much, Mr. Pepe.
I hope you read every page.
Everyone. Thank you. Most of them were pictures, so we did appreciate that.
As the rest of us know, we also know your sarcasm.
Thank you. Our initial goal when we set out on this project was the Planning Commission wanted to identify 10 perspectives or goals, their strategic initiative or actions, and a level of priority for each action. And we've kind of termed this our Christmas wish list, and then we're going to turn it over to you and let you do with it all the action stuff. So we're We're moving forward. We're fortunate enough to have a very nice mix on the committee of long-term residents, short-term residents, long-term business, and short-term business, both for and not-for-profit. Some of the factors we've considered during these meetings are the changing demographics, not only of Emmaus, but of the Lehigh Valley and Pennsylvania and our country as a whole. The rise of the on-demand economy, increased urbanization, climate change, energy diversity, the Internet of Things as it relates to the new 5G network, the reduction of retail brick and mortar, and many, many other items as we've discussed through our first 7 perspectives or strategies. And I'll give you the 7, and if you have any questions on any one of them, please just stop me. The first is community utilities, community services, natural resources, agriculture. Wow, nobody's going to question that one. Thank you. Directing use where appropriate, existing development, and community design. We still have 3 to go. As I say when we meet in the committee, and some folks in this room are part of the committee, we got all the fun stuff out of the way: sewer, stormwater, natural gas, our water system, all that fun stuff. Now we're going to get into housing, transportation, and transportation is going to include pedestrian, bike, as well as vehicular, rail, and truck. And then we're going to move into actually engagement, both community engagement as well as engagement with you as council to determine how we move forward with some of these actions. Following the completion of those 3 remaining and what will be all 10 of our initiatives, we are going to present our finished wish list to you. And as I said, then we're going to talk about the strategy for implementation. That's going to be followed by more public meetings so that we can get better feedback and additional feedback from residents, both business and homeowners in the borough. We did find several interesting things as we started through our discussions. The first, this may come as a surprise to some of you and may not to others, we struggled to define what Emmaus is. The words that came to mind is we didn't know what our look, our vibe, our feel, our character were for the borough, because it has been an ever-evolving borough from the old historic area to the well-defined triangle to the shopping centers that are now part of the landscape at Cedar Crest and Chestnut, to a whole different community that resides on the other side of Harrison. So we've really kind of are struggling to determine that. We certainly would appreciate any input from council and the committees to provide some insight on that perspective, but we are continuing to move through and try and come up with what that vibe or feel will be. There were a few, given our recent proliferation of distilleries and breweries, that we didn't feel they were appropriate. So we're going to move off of those. The second is we were very interested to find out that many of both our short and long-term residents are not aware of the many assets that we have here in the borough, things such as our community garden, our Furnace Dam. When we started to talk about natural resources, many didn't feel we had any natural resources. When we started to talk about Furnace Dam, we talked about agriculture, and I'm surprised nobody stopped me at agriculture, because that's what we consider agriculture in our committee. The community gardens, that's our agriculture. So it was very interesting to find that many of the folks on this committee, and we assume as we extrapolate that out to the entire community of Emmaus, many of the community don't know those exist either. We also found that with our countless assets, such as plentiful and clean drinking water, recreational space, diverse economy, and you, leaders who embrace growth, we are positioned to be a leader amongst boroughs to really define what the future borough should look like. In my role as chair of Planning Commission, we're seeing a significant change from developers that used to spend a lot of their attention in the 3 cities in the Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton, and are now pushing into the boroughs where they see better opportunity, ease of doing business, a willingness of the community to embrace developers as a growth potential of some of our blighted properties, some of our old industrial properties, and repurposing them. So we really feel that we're in a really good position moving forward to set the tone for many of the boroughs throughout the valley. In closing, I just want to let you know that we certainly appreciate the support and the patience of council, mayor, and the borough staff as we work through this exercise. I am going to pass out some pictures. These are only ideas. I just don't want anybody to take these and assume this is what the borough is going to look like in 10 years. We've been looking at means, because one of the struggles that we kind of identified is when we travel down Main Street and Chestnut, where our borough differs from many is that our business isn't consolidated. It's business, business, house, house, business, house, 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 business. So we're thinking of how does that look as we move into the future with some mixed use and increasing population, because the reality is we are a landlocked municipality. So the only way we grow is to repurpose some of the properties we have, since we are very limited with greenfields. So as I said, we're looking at how do we attract developers to utilize some of the brownfields we have, but also how do we redevelop some of the borough blocks as they become available. So I'm going to pass these around, but these are just ideas we've kicked around. Nothing that we've put down for future definitive planning. We have kept a few things in mind as we work through this. One is using the Southwest Lehigh Comprehensive Plan, which we spent an extensive amount of resources, both financial and time, to develop, and that has been our guide moving forward, but also the new Lehigh Valley Planning Commission's future plan, as well as they're looking at some of this very same topics and demographic changes that we're discussing in our committee. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, or any direction on that vibe thing.
I just have a question on your timeline. What is your timeline for reaching these different stages, estimates?
We expect to have the entire plan, all 10 items, as I mentioned, the perspectives or strategies, complete by the end of this year. At which point we will probably either January, February come back with a plan. I'm working with Mr. Pepe to put some of that together in terms of what we can do in terms of some of the pictorials is to fit some of the strategies and actions that we're creating, and bring some final plan back to you in January or February. We hope to then open it up in March and April for public comment and have something completed, the second quarter of next year.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question for Mike?
Just a comment. Thank you to everybody who's working on this. You're putting in a lot of hours. I don't know if you can hear me or not. So.
What?
But thank you for all the time and efforts I know you and your team are putting into this. It's not like you're sitting down in 1 hour and doing this. So thank you, and make sure your committee members also are thanked.
Thank you. I will certainly pass that along.
So, yeah, Mike, I mean, you have busted your tail in helping with, creating a direction for the Planning Commission. And this is a very big undertaking, and I personally appreciate it, despite what I say to you. I don't say it about you, so always remember that.
You always say it to my face, though.
That's right.
Always.
But I truly do appreciate it. I think council appreciates it. One thing that I did speak with Mike about is Dirksen Edson. We won a drawing, I think, at the PSAB conference for a free sketch that we are going to use for this. But we're also going to get some pricing from them, because one thing that we want to do is look at some conceptual drawings based on the plan that these guys are trying to put together, and see if we can't budget for a little bit of that for the beginning of next year to help them put some of those conceptual drawings together in the vision. I think, to me, this vision is very important, and what they've done with taking, a document that's that thick and trying to pare it down into what are really action items for us is really what this committee is doing, and trying to create a real direction for the community. I think that's big, and I think we need to invest in helping them do that however we can. Obviously, there's a budget that we're going to have to deal with that, but I think that's a big piece of this to help you guys not just put it in words, but also show conceptually what we're looking at.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that, Shane. I will say that there's some great examples out there. There's a lot of boroughs smaller than us and also larger than us that are doing some remarkable things with the same challenges we're faced with, landlocked, aging communities that are trying to redefine themselves. To your credit, Council and Mayor, I will say that that was money well spent on a lot of those previous studies. Whether they came to fruition or not, what they did do is teach us as a committee that there's a lot of perception challenges that need to be overcome as well. There was a large amount of money spent on parking studies. That really gave us an outlook that we have ample parking. Now, the committee has taken actually a very interesting spin on that and said that we think that parking is going to even be less of a problem with ride shares and changing demographics, and if the borough becomes more adaptable to pedestrian and bike traffic. So, there's a lot of studies, while they may have sat on a shelf, have now proven out to be useful for our purposes in defining where we're going into the future and what we do and don't need. So, thank you for all the time you took too, Shane, putting all that stuff together for us.
I think it's well worth the time and effort.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Just lastly, I want to personally thank you for your leadership, taking the committee on, and thank the committee. But I know you're passionate about this stuff. It shows, and that's what we need, is somebody that really cares enough to put all the work into it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Labenberg, but it's amazing when you offer to buy breakfast at 7 a.m. at the Superior, how many people come out for that?
That is so true. Thank you.
Are you finished with the pictures? May I take them from you so that nobody assumes that's what it's going to look like 10 years from now?
You mean we can't have this like Back to the Future?
No. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the reading of the minutes. We have council meeting minutes from July 15th of this year. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes? Councilman Dufresne, second by Councilman Anders. All those in favor say, or any questions or discussions or corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Decisions on bids. We have janitorial services. We had 2 bids, correct, Shane?
Yes.
And we're going to approve executive building services. For which options are we going?
Yeah, you got.
Or do we, options 1A and 2A, it looks like.
Yes.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve executive building services for our janitorial services, options 1A and 2A?
So
Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any questions or discussion on the bid? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Moving on to communications, we received a letter from Kathy Mincer with regards to the Emmaus Halloween Parade. We'll forward that to staff, as we've been doing that for many, many years. We received a resignation letter from Jeffrey Ott. He was on the Building Board of Appeals, but since we appointed him as our consultant, he has to resign, so I'd like to thank him for his service there. Canals Homestead is requesting to paint the house. We will refer that to General Administration Committee. 1803 House is having a Bites and Brews event, and we'll refer that to staff. Is it first time or second time they're having this? Anybody know?
Prior.
They had it 1 year, right? Second year?
This is at least
So
the
we'll refer that to staff then. Borough Engineers report, we have none. Solicitors report.
I have no formal report tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Unfinished business, part 1, we have 2 ordinances, both for second reading. Ordinance 1191, an ordinance amending the Borough of Emmaus zoning ordinance of 1992 as amended to delete definitions and regulations relating to place of worship and to substitute therefore a new definition and provide regulations identifying permitted accessory uses and further authorizing the use of certain accessories for commercial reasons, subject to conditional use approval by Borough Council. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1191? Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions or discussion on the ordinance? All right, this is a roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman?
Aye.
Councilman Schubsta?
Aye.
Councilman Anders?
Aye.
Councilman Hart?
Aye.
Councilman Dufresne?
Aye.
Councilwoman Baumgartner?
Aye.
Councilman Ladenburg? Aye. There are 7 ayes. We have ordinance 1192, an ordinance amending Chapter 15, subsection 404A of the codified ordinances, eliminating parking on portions of the west side of South 7th Street. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1192? Councilman Schubsta, second by Councilman Hart. Any questions or discussion on that? Roll call vote. Councilwoman Baumgartner?
Aye.
Councilman Dufresne?
Aye.
Councilman Hart?
Aye.
Councilman Ladenburg? Aye. Councilman Anders?
Aye.
Councilman Schubsta?
Aye.
Councilwoman McManaman?
Aye.
7 ayes. That covers unfinished business. There's no new business. There's no unfinished business. Items not on the agenda. Would anyone like to bring anything forward that's not on the agenda? Hearing none. Mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President. On your iPads, you have my mayor's report. I did a couple things, issued proclamations left and right. I'm getting good at that. And also, Monday is the first day of school, so be mindful of our students walking along with bus traffic. And if anyone is interested in becoming a crossing guard, please call the police department, speak with Cindy. We're in desperate needs of guards. Other than that, progress.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to revert back to communications. I failed to mention the 2 that I have on my desk. Faith Presbyterian Church has requested their annual event. This is, I believe, the 3rd year, Shane? If not the
Yeah,
4th?
I think it's the 3rd.
December 24th, they do a Christmas, an informal Christmas Eve service on the Triangle. And like I said, it's an annual event, so it's not something we approve, it's just informational, right?
Goes to staff now.
Yeah. And then we also, Shane received an email from Canals Homestead with regards to putting a fence up on the property, and you have, does everyone have the map? And yeah, okay, pictures. And that will be referred to General Administration also.
Probably, I don't know.
Parks and
It's up
Rec?
to you.
CRD
I think
has already
CRD
been
was
discussing
working
it.
with it, maybe.
Okay, I'll send it there. CRD can have it. We have enough on our plate anyhow.
Yeah.
We have it.
All right. Continuing to committee reports. Public Works Committee Chairman Anders.
Yes, we do have one official action, and that is to hire a full-time Public Works employee. Shane, is there any contingencies to add to the motion for backgrounds or anything?
No, so our recommendation is to hire Matthew Bockert. Matt is already a firefighter within EMA's fire department. He's also the guy sitting in the back of the room. Yeah, I'm excited about this hire. He was, we created the short list after all the interviews. Matt is on that short list. We're excited to recommend him to council.
Okay, I will make the formal resolution to hire Matt Bockert for the Department of Public Works full-time position.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilwoman Baumgartner, any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Congratulations. Whichever one you are, I don't know who it is.
He's the one back in that corner.
All right, congratulations. He said in the back, and there's a couple people in the back, so I didn't know which one it was.
Matt is a very good asset to the community. I think this will be a great job for him.
Great.
No, welcome aboard. Beyond that, you can see my notes from our meeting, which was August 14th. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 11th at 4 p.m. I'll report progress.
Thank you, Chairman Anders. Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee, Chairman Schubsta.
Nothing for official action. The committee today, first of all, I want to thank Jim Farnsworth and Paula and Shane on conducting the interviews for the assistant code official. 80 applications, which is pretty good. He conducted, Shane, 20 interviews,
Yeah, somewhere in there, yeah.
somewhere there. And the final 3 were interviewed today, and we will have Shane will be making a recommendation probably tomorrow, based
Yeah,
on
we'll-
our meeting today.
We'll
send
reach out to the individual tomorrow
Yep.
for, hopefully for council to formally appoint
Formally
on
appoint.
September 3rd.
Yep.
We're extremely excited. We had 3 very good
Three-
people, I
Three
thought.
very good candidates, yep. So it was nice to see that. Nothing else for official action at all. We are still working on the mural ordinance, and you'll see in the iPads that we did set up a target list for specific buildings within the Emmaus area that we were targeting to, either.
For blight.
For blight, yeah, so they were, we kind of put them in an order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of what we thought was the worst. I gave that list to Jim. Jim followed up on a few of them, and some progress on some of the facilities, which was nice.
And we're still working on that list as well.
Yep,
Looking at some short-term and long-term issues.
Yep.
Um,
yeah, so we kind of based it on, how dangerous were they,
Yeah.
It's nice to see the list isn't like 30 or 40, but only like 7.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
nice.
to start, but I mean, those are the priorities.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're not filling up an entire
And I
document
think
with
the other thing that we said was, you guys are our eyes and ears out there. So if you see something that you really think is, wow, Chris, when you take your 4-mile walk in the morning, if you venture to other parts of town that you have concerns or you see, don't be afraid to send us a correspondence so that we can take a look at it. We always say we can't be everywhere all the time, and we rely a lot on other team members and members of the community to help us with those types of things.
Shane, I just have one thing on the notes. I was not in attendance, so just if we can,
They aren't official minutes, they're notes.
Okay.
Right.
Just
We'll,
notes.
okay,
we'll note it though.
okay.
Um,
Well, just in case.
yeah, we'll note it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that we're gonna, our next committee meeting will concentrate heavily on dumpster day. Right, Shane, we'll get all of the details, all of the information for our next council meeting. So we can have all that out to the public. Our next committee meeting is, and it just crashed on me.
August 28th.
August 28th at 4:30. I just shut down. I report progress.
Thank you, Chairman Shipsta. Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairwoman Baumgartner.
We have our meeting notes attached. Some highlights are that we're making some progress on the RFPs that we've talked about working on, so you can see where we are with those. As Shane mentioned, we had the 40th anniversary of the summer concert series. There is one more free summer concert on August 25th, so that's this Sunday. So if you can make it out, that'll be the last one for the summer. The rec committee has done a great job throughout the summer putting on events for everyone. Our next meeting is September 3rd, 4:30, right here, Progress.
Thank you, Chairwoman Baumgartner. We have Public Safety Committee Chairman Dufresne.
Okay, so we have a couple of items here for action. This time last year, 2 police officers were promoted to sergeant with a 1-year probationary period, and those probationary periods are over. So I would like to make a motion to make Vince Morante a permanent sergeant with the Emmaus Police Department.
There's a motion by Councilman Dufresne. Is there a second? Councilman Hart? Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations. The next one is a motion to make Robert Allberger a permanent sergeant with the Emmaus Police Department.
So motion by Councilman Dufresne. Is there a second? Councilwoman McManaman? Question or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Congratulations to him also.
Okay, you can see the committee meeting notes there from our August 14th meeting. So unless anybody has any questions or comments for the committee, report progress. And our next meeting is September 11th at 9:15 a.m.
Thank you, Chairman Dufresne. Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. The recommendation from today's Budget and Finance Committee held earlier is Resolution 2019-30 with the bill list that's attached in your agenda packet. Unless there are any questions, I'd offer that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Bearing comment included in your packet is the significant revenue and expense items for this past month. I would note that it's that time of the year where we have a bolus of revenue coming in, and cash flow is increased tremendously, not the least of which is $2.6 million approximately. Real estate taxes, $500,000 in fire tax, sewer, water, et cetera. So this is the time of the year where cash comes into the borough. I'm happy to say that the cash flow from real estate tax has improved tremendously over the last month, and we're happy about that with some process changes that were put into place. Ambulance subscriptions. This bears an appreciation for further discussion and a major change or potential elimination of the subscription service for ambulance service. As the timing of solicitation from previous years is now, we are left with insufficient time to do a complete analysis on where we stand and where we can go in the future. Once we have that, we'll be able to ascertain whether the juice is worth the squeeze in the collection of the subscription that we get, which includes about 17% of the households in the borough. Also, our solicitation does not coincide with the budgetary cycle process, so we're left with doing this now before we put the budget together for next year. We have, and the Finance Committee agrees, a somewhat archaic legacy program of how volunteer ambulance companies collected money in the past. That environment has changed with insurances, co-pays, deductibles, and we've evolved over the years into a full-time salaried ambulance service, which we are delighted to have and are able to presently afford. Why am I telling you all this? I'm giving you a heads up that the Budget and Finance Committee in the upcoming months will be coming forward with a recommendation to alter most probably to alter the present subscription service program that we have. Today, because a large part of the subscription revenue has been budgeted for this particular current fiscal year, we are recommending to you a consideration of at least one more time with the subscription service with a $150 maximum discount forgiveness for subscribers on co-pays and deductibles. I'll offer that in the form of a motion. Happy to answer any questions.
There's a motion by Councilman Hart. Is there a second? Councilman Dufresne? Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
Our next meeting is scheduled for September 3rd at 6:45 p.m. I'll report progress.
Thank you, Chairman Hart. General Administration Committee is myself. We approved Ordinance 1191. We have a conditional use for South Mountain Cycle and Cafe and Mountain View Vineyard Incorporated. Is this the motion to give conditional approval?
Yeah, so
Conditional use?
you approved, you approved this
Right.
at a previous meeting. What this is the actual decision. So we need to approve all the legalese that the attorneys wrote in there. And,
Yeah, I see it was 20 pages long.
They're like I said, they're good at writing that stuff.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the conditional use? Councilman Shipsta, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any questions on this? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. We have the Shelter House Society lease. This has been going back and forth between the General Administration Committee and the actual Shelter House Society. And it has finally been determined that this will be the final lease. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the lease for signing? It's a 10-year lease. Councilman Dufresne, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Questions?
Just,
Councilman Anders.
I believe if I read it, it's $1. Just
Yeah, I don't know if we ever actually collected. I said we should just get the $10 at one shot. It covers the whole 10 years, but,
Yeah, I just figured we'd put that out there for the public, so they know.
all right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. So we have an agreement now with the shelter house, and I believe we have an agreement with the Canals Homestead. We're going to work on 1803 house, which will be similar to this. Actually, it would be simpler because we don't have somebody living in it like we do at the shelter house.
It'll be very similar to the Canals Homestead agreement.
All right, Vinert approached the borough about leasing more property or more parking spaces on our new purchase of the Rodale building along the railroad tracks there. And they are going to pay $20 a space per month for 60 spaces, which is $1,200 per month, which is $14,400 more for the borough. Would somebody like to approve the lease with Vinart for spaces at 33 East Minor Street? Councilman Anders, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions? Councilman Hart.
Mr. President, I think it bears mentioning that it is a month-to-month situation, so.
It is a month-to-month situation, as is all the parking. They also rent spaces up by the Yakos headquarters on Minor Street also, correct?
They pay us $18,000 a year for that.
Yes, so combined, we're making $32,400, if I did the right math. So that's all helping with our budget, so. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Town Hall telephone automation system. As you know, we still take pride in having our staff answering the phones, but with a population of 11,500, and not only just residents calling, but other people call for other items too. As an example, pavilion rentals. Our staff has been basically, they're saying they're averaging about 100 phone calls a day, which takes them away from the work. So we're looking at an automated system where basically she was a pass-through. She would answer the phone and she would just pass them through to whoever they're going to. Going to the automated system will make them more efficient where they can get their work done and not be interrupted constantly.
Well, and if you want to talk to the codes officer, now you hit 2 instead of wait for Jessica to answer the phone. Jessica says, hold on a second. Then she calls over to the secretary, tells her who it is, what they want, and then transfers her over. You call, you want to talk to the codes, you hit 2. Go.
Yeah.
It'll help with her being able to do her job and streamlining phone calls so that people aren't also leaving voicemails in the general mailbox that are left unanswered for an hour and a half because he's doing other things. For example, we had a code enforcement officer interview. The gentleman was stuck in traffic in Philadelphia. I got it an hour after the interview was scheduled because that's when she got around to being able to finally get to that voicemail. This will just streamline things like that.
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, when it starts taking your workers away for that amount of time.
Well, if her job was telephone operator, that'd be one thing. But it's billing clerk, it's cashier, it's front window, it's information, it's again, we always say you can only do so much with so many hours, and we're having trouble getting other work done when all we're doing is answering the phone. And when I say we, I'm really talking about the person that picks up that main number.
Yeah.
You can still, we all have direct dials. You can still direct dial each department like you always could.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the automation of the telephone system in Town Hall here? Councilwoman McManaman, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any questions?
What are the expected fees related, the cost?
Just the labor for them to come in that day. It's already an option in the system. We've just, like we said, Borough Council has always prided itself on that personal touch. And you're still going to get that personal touch. It's just now you can hit 5 right away and go to the person you actually want to talk to. So it's not like when you call the federal government and it takes you, 35 minutes just to get to another
3 menus.
menu. It's just gonna be more direct. You wanna talk to Jim, you dial 2, or whatever the extension will be.
So basically, they're just connecting us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot of options, it's this office, I think there's 4 offices basically you're gonna go to.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. We had 2 sets of meeting minutes, if anyone has any questions on those. If not, our next meeting is September 12th here in council chambers at 9 a.m. I report progress. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, Chairwoman McManaman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item for official action tonight, Resolution 2019-29, a resolution conditionally approving the preliminary final subdivision and revised preliminary final land development plans of Cedar Crest Chestnut Development LP proposed convenience store. So because of the many Borough Council requests of the developers to streets, lights, and trails, we have an amended plan from Wawa. Nothing has changed regarding the development, only on the complication of easements and land ownership. So, Mr. Dinkelhocker, if you would just explain this, since it's...
It's the other
or,
D.
I'm sorry.
It's the other D,
So
but that's
sorry.
okay.
I'm so sorry.
Mrs. McManaman.
My apologies.
We also have the developer.
I also see that
But-
Mr. Schock is here to answer any questions, but this is very, very simple. There became a very complex issue concerning insurances. And they had the Altman, who was, because of the way this was developed, that he had to have so much property. So he wanted to give easements and retain the fee simple ownership. What he said, because of that, for the trails and the detention basin and things like that, he wanted an easement, and he wanted us to insure them and put it on record that we would insure them forever. It's something that could not realistically be done with my recommendation. Truthfully, Mr. Schock and Mr. Dinkelhocker came up with the idea of reorienting the lots so that the one lot size, which was a little undersized, could go in front of the planning commission, in front of the zoning hearing board, and it was approved. And so now they have the ability to, Mr. Altman is gonna have his property, we're gonna get the trails and the
Public improvements that we've asked.
public improvements in fee simple, and we don't have, and our insurance will just take care of it then. We don't have to insure anybody else. So there is nothing of substance that's different in this plan, nothing. It's a good resolution, and I don't know whether Mr. Schock wishes to comment.
No, if there's any questions, as Mr. Dinick said, if you went out there and looked at it, it's gonna look exactly like the plan you previously approved after it's built. It was merely to be able to give you guys the lot with all of your improvements on it. It just got unwieldy because there was so much in so much area. So, yeah, I think it worked out well that we reached a solution. And while it seems like it took a long time, it could have taken a lot longer if we kept going around and around. So glad to be here tonight and not next month.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, do you want to place that in the form of a motion?
Yes, please.
There's a motion by Councilwoman McManaman. Is there a second? Councilman Hart, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes.
We have 2 sets of committee meetings. Notes, if there's any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, our next meeting is September 19th at 4:30. I'll report progress.
Thank you, Chairwoman McManaman. Junior council members report. We have Junior Councilman Jonas Hausman, and I want to thank you for coming through to the summer meetings, because you're not required to, but you choose to, and we appreciate that.
I love coming to the meetings. It's a lot of fun.
Great. Not many people say that.
But I'm excited. I'm working on a project to hopefully end the vape issue at the high school. I've been emailing around about that. School starts on Monday, and I've been going to CRD meetings, enjoying that a lot. And I report progress.
Thank you, Jonas. You have 6 sets of various boards and commission meeting minutes and reports to look at to get updated. Personal appeals part 2. Anybody have a personal appeal? Approach the podium and sign in. And state your name and where you're from.
I'm still Mike Gibson at 230 Ridge Street. Really? Can we budget for appendant rights?
Talk to the budget.
It's not in this budget.
Okay. I have 2 quick questions. Could the Planning Commission please get a copy of the blighted properties report so that we can pass that on to the Visioning Committee to assess the properties that are being reviewed?
Yeah, I mean, we're still working on
Yeah, we-
creating that. but
Understood,
You want
but when you get
where
it
we are?
complete,
Okay.
either in the Dropbox or
Sure.
emailed. Second, in regards to the Wawa development, who's owning the O&M on the stormwater retention?
I couldn't hear your question.
Who's going to own the O&Ms?
Us.
If Borough's going to own the O&Ms on the stormwater?
Well, so it depends on which stormwater retention.
There's a couple here.
So
Yeah.
the stormwater retention coming off of their property is going to be their responsibility. The stormwater that's coming off of our new public road is going to be our responsibility.
And they're separate?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other appeals? Hearing none. Borough Managers Report.
Yeah. I'll just stick with what's on the list here. We promoted firefighter Logan Schwartz to firefighter 1. Logan has successfully completed his probationary firefighter status, so we're excited to make that announcement. I hired Scott Crispin as a part-time EMT. He will be making the EMT rate. He's highly qualified. He's been an EMT for quite some time. We hired David Reitnauer as a part-time firefighter. You see his application is in your packet. Again, David is highly qualified. And I also hired Justin Benner as a part-time firefighter. And again, Justin is qualified to do the position as well. So we're excited to hire those positions. They fill some gaps that we have in the department. As we said when we did the original slate of hiring, a second slate would be coming, especially after we kind of assess, where our holes still are in the department in terms of shifts. Our newest public works employee will no longer be filling shifts as a part-time firefighter, although he is interested in volunteering, but that is going to create, another gap, and he was putting in some considerable time there. So that's something that we have to look at as well. So that's that. I will report progress, because everything else that I've been working on and dealing with and all the fun stuff that's been going on in the borough.
Thank you. Under President's Business, I just want to point out 2 positive things that I read in the meeting reports, committee meeting reports. First one is that it's nice to see that the Emmaus Community Park, the pool, actually met their revenue goals for this year already. So anything we make now is to the positive, and that doesn't happen with too many community pools. So very happy to see that. Mostly because the weekends have been so packed. It has brought some of its own issues, but they are being addressed. And the second thing is I read 2 different places, and I don't know if it was two different committees, but about our farmers market and how the businesses on the Triangle, how their business has skyrocketed. One of them mentioned their business went up 130%. Another one mentioned that they would not have survived without the Triangle, meaning they would have gone under. And now they're doing well. So to me, that's a positive. Keep the momentum going with the downtown, and who knows, it may lead to bigger and better things expanding from that. So just wanted to point that out. With that being said, under President's Business, we have an executive session dealing with real estate, which we will not have any actions. And at this time, we will recess at 7:55, and we'll allow the press to come up and ask questions before we actually go into executive session. And we'll dismiss the solicitor. Reconvening at 8:32. For the record, we actually went in an executive session at 8:05. And I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Councilwoman Baumgartner, seconded by Councilman Hart. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 7 ayes. Meeting adjourned at 8:32.